All right, good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and call the May board meeting of the Burleigh County Water Resource District to order. Wendy, take roll call, please.
Manager Mager.
Here.
Manager Mischel.
Here.
Manager Reed.
Here.
Manager Smith.
Here.
Chairman Landenberger.
Here, we have a quorum. We will continue. Moving on to item 2 this morning, approval of last month's, the April board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Manager Smith and a second by Manager Reed to approve the meeting minutes from last month's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Moving on to item 3 this morning, the agenda. Any changes or additions to the agenda this morning? Chuck, we were thinking McDowell Dam.
Yeah, McDowell Dam with the aerators and the parking lot stuff, maintenance that's gonna be taking place there.
Okay, so we'll add item D, parking lot discussion, and then item E, aerators. Okay. And then I would like to add under item 9, projects, the Apple Creek slide. Item 5 there, just a new slide area. We can have Casey kind of update us what, there was a report of an additional slide in that area, so Casey can give us an update, so.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay.
Second.
Got a motion by Manager Smith, second by Manager Mischel to approve the agenda as amended. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Ayes have it. Agenda is approved. Okay, moving on to item 4 this morning. Any comments from members of the public not associated with a project, but still associated with business for the Burleigh County Water Board? Good morning.
Morning, Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Can you guys hear me?
Doesn't
There we
sound
go.
Like it's not.
Okay.
There it is.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members of the board, members of the public. My name is Josh Loosemore. I'm the president of Pershicon. I'm here to facilitate discussion or any questions you may have. I understand that you have an invoice in front of you, correct?
There was an invoice that Michael sent us, yeah. Yep.
And I understand there is some reservations.
Well, yeah, Josh, we don't have a contract with you.
That's That's correct. I was under time and materials, so we kind of fall into this space where, per our agreement and our meeting, I was under the assumption, based on what we agreed upon, that there should have been a contract in place.
Okay. So,
With-
yeah, but there, so what meeting are you referring to, Josh? I guess.
The meeting at Houston Engineering in the conference room with you and legal, David Bliss.
Yep. And we talked about kind of next steps and having some meetings with Kidder County and potentially Stutzman County, but I don't remember discussing kind of next steps as far as data collection or, things of that
Oh,
nature.
I did not invoice for data collection. We have in-house data.
Yep.
And then open source data that we do tech reviews. In no way are we, and this is study and research. We're not investigating. You don't see invest as one of the task items or study
Okay.
or root cause. It'd be root. That implies we're investigating something, meaning that there would be recommendations, findings, conclusions, and a memo or a report. That's not what we're doing. We're simply having discussions with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. What you don't see on here is the hours spent at the refuge since our conversation, 7 or 8 meetings, give or take. I didn't bill for that. Nor did I bill for my travel time. Why? Because I came back to this state to start a business as a veteran, having a veteran-owned small business to steward and give back to the state of North Dakota that bestowed so much upon me. Why? Because we owe it to our citizens to give them the best ROI that we can. Meaning, I'm going to over-deliver, over-perform, and give you the data that you want at a reasonable cost. Brian, I'll give it to you. Just got to work it out.
Okay, Josh, so I'm looking at the invoice here from your company, and it's sent to Michael Gunch with Houston Engineering. Do you have an agreement with Houston Engineering?
No, that was the direction I was given by Mr. Gunch.
Okay, so again, we do not have a contract with your company.
Correct?
So our contract is with Houston Engineering to do engineering for us. So as a subconsultant to him, if that was what was agreed upon by the board, that's how we would pay for your services, is through Houston as our engineer. That,
I understand
Dave,
that. I think we're kind
Dave, am I
of,
misunderstanding that at all? I mean, at this, yeah.
I think the right and the professional thing to do here, before we get into the weeds and we get out of the realm of professional space, is I need to sit down with you one-on-one and have a discussion.
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Josh. I'm sorry, Josh, right?
Correct.
Sorry. Beyond the contractual part of it, when did, I'm looking at your invoice here. I don't recall when you might have had the discussion with James and another board member at Houston Engineering's offices, but when did some of these expenses when were they incurred, I guess? They don't have dates on them.
Right. So the meeting, the inter-district meeting, Kidder County with their staff, Water Resource Board, Stutzman County was there as well. That was at the end of February. It was, I believe, that Friday, because I took my daughter to Disney on Ice in Fargo. I went to Fargo after that. Which, by the way, I really don't want to be here this morning because my daughter has her end-of-the-year program at Shiloh, and I got to leave in 15 minutes. So the fact that she's not able to have breakfast with her dad because I got to address this issue this morning, I have a problem with that. But here I am.
Okay, so, I don't know, Michael, let's go, maybe, I don't know if we need to,
Yeah, just a couple things, Mr. Chairman. Typically, what we do with the subconsultants are very similar to what we do with Braun. We ended up with a separate contract, and the board pays it so that we don't end up upcharging for our policy. On this one, yeah, we did not get that done in the timeline that we needed to for this one. So we can still get that put in place and consider this down the road. I do think that the information, I talked to Roger and I talked to James, the information that is here is valuable. It's a timing of when it occurred, somewhat relative to the contract. So I think if you put the contract in place, then it's prudent to move forward with the invoice as it is. And that's kind of some of the information that I've shared before, so.
So Michael, you're saying the contract would be
No, the contract, like we do with Braun Intertech, it'd be separate and it'd be directly with the board. We would review these, which is why they come to us. And you review them for content, review them for background, what's done, and review and question, and then authorize the board for payment. And we think we do the same here. We just need to get the contract in place to do that. And that's partially my fault. I'll take blame for that because we shared the rate sheet the last time so we could move things forward, but we didn't have a formal contract.
yeah, I think as far as, from a board standpoint, just understanding what the scope and timeline and work items were, you know, from that meeting, I don't think we lined out what, you know, to this degree, kind of what Josh was gonna complete as far as work and how much that was gonna cost the board.
Yeah, we've been in a number of different routes, and I've talked to Dave about this too. Is the standpoint, we started out with a complaint process, and it kind of grew and went in like 3 or 4 different directions. So in a way, we were spinning our wheels to get to the point to where we're at today relative to how that discussion with the refuge will occur. I think we're in the right place to do that. And the next steps are kind of a little bit off track here, but I'll just step on that. The next step, the Stutzman County has completed its task of sending the summary and report to Burleigh County. Now the issue is, and I think Roger was going to check base with Jared at the refuge, to get them back in the office and have a one-on-one discussion with them to see what pathway they're on. And this information that Josh has gathered is obviously valuable in that discussion for them and the board to take this to the next step.
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Chairman, I just would like clarity on what we're doing here. I mean, we received a drainage complaint. To me, that's the only official capacity that really need to engage at this point. And I mean, just as a note, I see a meeting between Kidder County and Sussman County. I'm thinking, why are we paying for any services related to that? And so I know there's interconnection there, but I think we maybe need to be just a little more defined in what we're going to do and what we should be doing. So I'd appreciate that as part of any type of scope language that we can use to measure invoices against.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, Dennis, from the standpoint, we started out and technically, and I'll use the legalistic term, we do not have a complaint in front of us. And we deviated from the idea of having a complaint so that we didn't get into the timeline process that's in the Century Code and everything else. What we're doing now is basically, rather than getting a complaint process from Kidder County, and just as background, I prepared the information for Kidder County to file their complaint as part of the direction from the board, but we're not going down that path right now. We're just going to be having a discussion with them directly. And to your point, I think that refines the scope. So we need to have the conversation with the refuge to define what they are going to do. In fact, in a perfect world, they do the vast majority of this. Valid points.
Chairman, if I may. I have asked for clarification, authorization, and direction. I know I sent an email to you, Brian, correct?
Yep.
Was it pretty clear that I needed direction?
Yeah, it was pretty strongly worded. I basically took that as the board will kind of work on its own and thank you for your offer. Is that correct?
Understood.
Yep.
That's correct. So I've been very clear.
Was this recent, Brian?
That email would have been 2 weeks ago, roughly.
Yeah, roughly 2 weeks
Yep,
ago.
good.
So, and then I also expressed the same concerns with Roger in our meeting about going forward with what I may or may not say on behalf of him to refuge staff, relaying the message.
Right. Yeah, and as of right now, our next step is my conversation, and it would be
Correct.
with the refuge, yeah.
Yep. Now, I have a rapport with the refuge. It's been long-standing, so I continue. Even today, we're spending, believe it or not, all the money that we're taking in, we invest right back into the community to study and research. Warren Wing, Regan, New Johns. You'll be hearing about that later this year. Logan Township, Mackenzie Slough, all over it. So if you want answers, we're here. I'm willing to work with you guys, but I need clear, concise direction.
We agree, 100%. So
Okay.
John, I think I like your idea. Maybe we'll just find some time here to, for you and I and probably Michael to meet and discuss kind of how I've gotten to this point and what we want to do moving forward. And getting a contract in place, I think, would be first and foremost.
Yeah. So we're not saying that we won't pay for some of it.
Right.
Yeah.
If there's services rendered that
Yeah.
the board, agrees to that we want to have done and completed, then that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this time to clear up any muddy waters and a chance for you guys to address me. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with your daughter's thing. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Any other comments from members of the public not associated with the project, but still the business of the board? Good morning, Commissioner.
Hello. I had no idea that I was going to speak this morning. I don't, Chair and Commissioners, I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but as soon as these come available on Dakota Media Access, and a lot of meetings became available during COVID, and that's when I started watching. I've watched every single one for 9 years, or attended them. And talking with Chair Landenberger, you can confirm or deny if you want, but he runs one of the best meetings out of all the boards that I've watched. He knows I've said it.
I did not pay him to come and say that.
Yeah. Well, Mike on Bismarck Planning and Zoning does really well and it's a learned experience. It's not an easy thing to do. I also can respect the open meeting process. It's a little nuanced because nobody wants meetings behind the meetings. That's how our republic is set up at the local level. And so I don't know the background of this, but when somebody comes up, sometimes when there's a crux, that's the only choice you have. So I like the working process when it's concerning, when you represent a government entity, when all of a sudden, I watched last meeting when Josh's name came up. That's the first time I ever heard of it at a meeting level. And the work being done, there was a lot of compliments going that direction. So now the reason why I wasn't going to speak, but now speaking, sitting there as a citizen, watching as many meetings as I do, it kind of exposes government a little bit, knowing that there wasn't a contract in place. That's a process failure. That puts us all on the hook, and that's challenging. Even in my position, because with me watching so many meetings, certain things come up, like when we've had our conversations, Chair, where not through benefit to me, but if it could help facilitate our process, I'd be willing to go out and advocate in certain areas. And that, not to draw attention, my name doesn't need to be tied to anything. So I like the healthy discussion this morning. Family topics, we get it. We all have things that we're emotionally tied to, but this podium's not the place to bring that portion up. So I would say in Josh's case, in that regard, we need to keep it to the matter of business. The other thing is that I fought really hard with Senator Paulson for codifying this public comment time in every single one of our meetings. North Dakota is special in that. We're the first state in the entire country to do that. So, and this is proof of that functioning in a really well-mannered way. But I guess that would be the tidbits, and if anybody has any questions, feel free.
Any questions for Commissioner?
Thanks for your comments. I agree with all what you said.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments this morning? All right. Not hearing any, we can move on to McDowell Dam. First item up, the supplemental water supply. In your packet, starting on page 7, is the final signed easement for the last parcel. And then also you'll notice in our bills that we do have a check to be approved today, and then that will be paid to that landowner for that last easement. So that's all in your packet there as well. I don't know, Travis or Michael, would you like to give the board kind of an update on what the kind of the next steps are in the timeline schedule on that project?
I guess I'll defer to Travis because he's the one who's going to be doing the final design and moving towards construction. So Travis, if you just want to touch on that, please.
Morning, Travis.
Good morning, Chairman, managers. Basically, for the timeline that I'm visioning for the McDowell Dam alternate water supply project, right now we've got to work on doing the final design on that project, and then we also have to submit for the DWR cost share on that. And part of this is going to be contingent on the approval of that cost share from the state, and timeline for getting that submitted and then reviewed at their next regular meeting, and then upon approval of that, or any comments or questions that they have, whether they have any questions or things that they need to be resolved before they can approve that. In general, what I'm thinking is pretty much the rest of this year would be for the design period and getting things in order, and then I also have to engage the electrical sub-consultant to do the electrical design on that, and then take a look at kind of what our procurement timelines are for some of the equipment and such. So long story short, I'm thinking pretty much through this summer and maybe into the fall, getting getting the approvals, getting the design completed, and then any other contingent factors that need to be worked into that schedule. Try to have design completed by the end of this year and potentially advertise for bid maybe this fall, winter for a construction in 2027 on the timeline for that. So, and then some of these electrical components, we've seen some extended timelines for procurement because this one's going to have, I'm estimating basically 40 horsepower pumps on this one, and then your control panels and your switch gear on and such like that. So that I don't know exactly what kind of timelines we have, for lead times for equipment like that. Although I think those are improving from what they have been. So those can be concurrent with some of the other active construction phases of the project. So basically I'm picturing the rest of 26 for design and implementation, and then 27 for construction period.
Okay. Are we thinking one season for construction?
Yeah, I think so. Unless, like I said, unless there's some hangups on the procurement for some of those electrical components, and even then, those would be kind of isolated to just those things, and the rest of the work could continue until those arrive. But yeah, I think I don't see any reason why this couldn't be constructed in one full season.
Okay. Any questions for Travis?
Just, Mr. Chairman, Travis, the deadline for submittal to the state is late June, roughly, yes? For cost share?
Well, they have regular meetings every 2 months.
Yep.
And so, if you missed one, you just get it into the next
So we'd have to submit
season.
by late June, I
But,
think, to get
yeah,
on their August meeting is what it is.
Right,
required. So
and-
are we going to meet that, do you suppose?
Yeah, I definitely think so. So, they also have their planning for their various biennium fundings, and we definitely want to try to get in. So my goal is to get that submitted here, essentially with approval of the contract that we've put here for the final design and implementation of this. As soon as we have that, then we have the numbers that we need to submit to them. I can put together an estimated project cost so that we can get on their budgeting and their planning for their following biennium.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Dennis, your point, yeah, it's June. Right now you have in front of you, I think it's SA 31. Once SA 31 is authorized, we would complete the DWR grant application for final design, and we'd meet that June timeline.
Yep. And they are aware that this is coming, so we've already gotten some submittals into for their planning.
Mr. Chairman, that brings up, I don't
Yep.
think that's on our
I
agenda,
just
but
thought that
we
too.
need to consider this, I would suggest.
Yep.
It was a separate email for board members.
You guys see that separate email? SA 31? I guess as we're on that topic, is there any questions or thoughts on SA 31 with Houston for, basically continuing with the supplemental water supply design, and there's also CA, contract administration, construction management costs as they have it.
Yeah, that's full cradle to grave budgeting for that one, for the design, bidding, and construction management services on that entire project.
Yeah. Any questions on that? Or the wishes of the board on the SA?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve special authorization number 31 with Houston Engineering to conduct design services, construction administration services for the water supply project at McDowell Dam. Right now, the estimated fees in total are $278,900 for the entirety of that set of services.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Manager Reap and a second by Manager Smith to approve the SA 31 for the supplemental water supply for McDowell Dam for design services as well as construction management services to the tune of a $278,000 contract. Any questions, comments on that? Okay, not hearing any. Wendy, you take roll call vote, please.
Manager Maker,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, that will be signed. Okay, any other questions for Travis or Michael this morning regarding the supplemental water supply project? Okay, thank you, Travis.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, we kind of hit on the grant submittal and the water plan submittal. Those happened, right, Michael? Those are
Yeah, the
completed?
water plan is in there already. The grant one you just authorized, that'll be completed here shortly
Okay.
for June meeting.
In your packet as well is kind of some updated, I don't know, Chuck, some updated information regarding the land leases. So those were finalized and
Yep,
signed. and
everything's all finalized and good to go, and for the next 10 years.
10 years for all of them, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, we can move on to item D this morning, the parking lot discussion. Morning, Dave.
Chairman Landenberger and managers. As we discussed last meeting, we had a little bit of surprise this spring with the parking lot for the boat ramp and the maintenance area. Per our discussion, I went back and did some estimating to figure out where we sit for possibly replacing that parking lot or other parking lots in the future, and then as well as how does that fit into our CIP for moving forward for 27, 28, 29, and so on. I did send an email to Chairman Landenberger and Manager Mischel. So what I did was go back, I went back and looked at definitely parking lot 1, just for simplification, instead of boat ramp or the one near the bathroom or the second one closest to the bathroom, I numbered the parking lots. So our major issue is in parking lot 1 on this illustration. If you remember, we had some blowouts there from just from the use from the boat ramp and for the garbage pickup. I asked Mr. Robinson to go out to one of those potholes and dig down, kind of give me a section of what's there. And it's literally 4 inches of gravel with, I think it was just the top was impregnated with oil, about 3/4 inches of asphalt, essentially, once the gravel solidified. So knowing when you look at that, parking lot 1 and parking lot 3 and 4 are all very similar. I took and created some estimates. A little blurry, but I don't want to mess with it. Created some estimates, assuming the same construction for those 3 areas. Parking lot 1, I made some modifications. Instead of there being asphalt going down to the concrete at the boat ramp, I turned that entire throat to concrete in the concept, because that's just going to continue to happen. Asphalt on that steep of a slope is going to continue to slide. So I thought, let's fix the problem if we're gonna go in here. I also put a large area in for the garbage dumpster so that we don't continue to have that problem. Mm-hmm. So that's and parking lot 1 is a little bit larger than parking lots 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are identical, same shape, same square footage. So I don't think that those are too hard to figure out. If you remember in the CIP, our plan was to replace that secondary bathroom that's between shelters 2 and 3. Estimate-wise, we proposed budgeting $230,000 for that project. I think, if I remember correctly, that included the construction and consultant fees for that. The next question is, how does the board feel about tackling an additional parking lot on top of that? Do we push the bathroom to another year and we deal with parking lot 1? I'll tell you, based off of mine and David's evaluation, 3 and 4 aren't in bad shape compared to 1. I wanted to do this process because they're similar construction. For our knowledge, eventually we're going to have to do something at 3 and 4, but we think we can push those out a little bit. Those are definitely the least used parking lots out of all the lots. 1, 2, and 5 are primarily the most heavily used. When you look at how people use the complex, I was just talking with Mr. Robinson. He said that 5 was packed, and actually there was overflow in 4 because all the kids are going to the new playground we just built by 5. So it's getting used, which is good news.
Mm-hmm.
But I really just wanted to get back to how, our discussion from last board meeting and try and tie that in. The Park District is in the process of working out our budget for '27. We start ours pretty early. And I had already submitted all of my proposed information to our finance director and our executive director. Once, and as you guys are very well aware, once you submit a proposed budget to the board, you can't go up, you can always go down.
Right.
So I listed all three of these parking lots plus the bathroom in my proposed budget for the or for McDowell Dam, knowing that we're probably not going to go there. But I wanted to make sure that if this board felt like we wanted to move forward with one or two or three of these, plus the bathroom, I got my butt covered.
Yep.
So I just wanted to lay all that out and then have a discussion with you.
So Dave, it's your thoughts you would do all these parking lots next year? Or,
Chairman Landenberger, I really don't think we need to do 3 and 4.
okay,
I really think we probably need to focus on one, to focus on one. Mr. Robinson's getting quotes just to patch the area, just to put down an asphalt patch
get through this season?
for the dumpster area.
Okay,
I don't want to spend a lot of money, like we discussed, a lot of money patching this, having to have it ripped out to replace it in the year. So I don't think that's a good use of taxpayer dollars. I'd like to, if we can, bad term, but limp along if we can for a year to get through this, and then at least talk about next year. Do we shift? Do we push off that bathroom for a year if the board doesn't want to spend, about $190,000 based off my estimate for Lot 1, plus the $230,000 for the bathroom? Do we trade those out and push the bathroom to the next year? That kind of thing.
okay. Other thoughts or questions for Dave on that?
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna ask Dave, it was $190,000 for Lot 1, or parking Lot 1 is what I just heard you say. I don't know, I guess my thoughts are I would defer to the people that are out there day after day. What's your recommendation? And I kind of think I heard it, maybe is pushing off the restroom replacement 1 year. Assume the restroom will be fine up until 2028.
Manager Reap, the existing bathroom operates, it functions, it just doesn't meet the accessibility standards.
Yes.
So that's what we're going with, is that we're trying to make those. We talk about those 3 legs of the stool when we created that capital improvement plan, equipment improvements, and then also meeting the transition plan from the access audit that we did. So the bathroom gets us to that, one of those legs.
Yeah. Well, this is good timing, obviously. We got, we're gonna be doing our budget here over the next few weeks as well. And so we could look at that CIP plan, Chuck, and maybe you and I and Dennis just plan on a time to get together and kind of look at that CIP and how that looks for 27 and 28.
Sure.
Kind of planned budget. But
Mr. Chairman, Dave, I was just looking at your CIP for 26. I mean, new tractor, you had some savings there, but you were also going to talk about maybe preemptively going and get some attachments for it because of those savings. So I'm not sure where we are on that. There's a shower building in 26 also listed.
Manager Reap, the shower building is, I believe we open bids tomorrow.
Okay.
On the shower building, so we'll know where that is for bidding. Unfortunately, it just didn't time out with our meeting today. I would have loved to come and share that with you.
Sure.
My plan, if you're okay with it, while we're on the topic, is if it's within budget, I'll recommend to our board that we move forward with it. And our board meets next Thursday. I think that's how we've kind of proceeded with some of these projects in the past, as long as it's within budget. And I'll definitely come back and talk with you next month about how it landed with the bid results. But this year, it is the bathroom, and then, yes, the tractor. We did receive the tractor, and I think last month when we talked about those additional pieces of equipment, we were below $5,000 for those additional pieces of equipment. I think in 28, I want to say, was when we were talking about buying the additional pieces of equipment for. Okay, I'm remembering it correctly. Good. I don't know if we'll have to get something else in 28, but we wanted to put that in there. That may go down but we may still request some additional equipment in 28 if we see that there's a need for some, because that tractor is going to be very versatile out there. It's a lot bigger than what we have, so we'll be able to do more things.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Dave, I mean, when do you need to decide in this construction season cycle that, okay, we're going to do lot one? I mean, do we need to kind of get a good direction from us today to help you in that process?
Manager Reap, I think that if I hear from this board, if you say that you'd like to focus on just the parking lot 1 for 27, I can relay that to our staff at the district, and that we can change our proposed budget as we submit it to our board. If you'd like me at this point to leave the estimate for lot 1 and the bathroom, but I don't know how you all feel about that much of an outlay for 27. I can leave it at that and bring it down from 3, 4, 1, and the bathroom.
Mr. Chairman, Dave, we're ultimately talking to the same people when we go up in front and ask, right? And so, I mean, I don't know, we do have to start our own budgeting processes. Whenever Dave talks, that reminds me, we got to talk budgeting. But, so, you know, if it's in there in your request, we certainly can carry it forward. I think historically, we've just taken whatever you guys bring to us and then push it forward to the board, and then we have our own discussion. You know, if it survives there, great. If it doesn't, I mean, then that's, and so I don't know if the timing of that will be helpful to you, I guess. That's my thoughts.
Right. Manager Reap, I'll set a reminder in April when we start talking about budgets. I'll remind you. Actually, I talked with staff in December about getting ready for the following year. So I think if we trade out, to answer your question, I kind of skirted around your previous question. We wouldn't go into design. For that dollar amount, we'd be hiring a consultant for the replacement of the parking lot. So that wouldn't go into design until late fall this year, early 27. I don't think that'll be an issue. It's always nice to knowing contractors and how asphalt bids out, to have those early in January and ready to go before the contractors are full, so we get some good prices. It might actually, timing wouldn't work out, but it would be great if we could get that parking lot replaced before the boat ramp was needed. But asphalt plants usually aren't up until after that's open and ready to go. So we may even consider that this is a temporary inconvenience, and then we just have the construction happen middle of the summer next year, just to get it done. There's no good time, as I found out with anything in a park district or anything recreational, when it's not frozen and covered with snow, everybody wants to use it. So it doesn't really, there's no good construction season. We try and make it as minimally impactful to the public as possible when we do these things, but there's just no way around it. I think if you're comfortable with it as a board, if we want to push that bathroom out a year, then let's focus on the parking lot 1. Because they're kind of a trade-off in the dollar amount. We've already committed in that CIP of the $230,000, and I think about $190,000 in my rough estimate right now. So it'd be a little bit less, but it's kind of a horse apiece on that one.
What's the thoughts of the board? I mean, obviously, we talked about making some of these upgrades, following that study that was completed, and the importance of doing that too. So, I mean, if the budget's there, I'm not opposed to looking at doing both in 2027, but I don't know. What are you guys thinking?
Well, that's exactly right. It's all depends on the budget, right? So if we can fit it in, we fit in what we can fit into the budget.
Yeah. Do you guys feel that'd be too much work out there if we looked at trying to do both in 27?
Chairman Landenberg, I don't think it would be too much work.
Okay.
We'll have to juggle, and I would guess that we'd probably look at that. That bathroom's a pretty big project, noticing or thinking that we do it in masonry again. Timing wise, we don't want it to get too cold for a contractor to be and then have to pay for heating masonry construction. We just don't want to do that. So that may disrupt the use of that bathroom towards the end of the season. So if we push it towards the end of the season, I think it would be okay. One preliminary thought, I think, when the architect that looked at it conceptually, he was thinking that we would move that bathroom closer to the parking lot, so it'd be behind the existing bathroom, which means the existing bathroom could stay functional if we want to do that. I kind of like where it sits right now. So we can discuss that over the next season if we want to just replace it in the location that it sits presently, or if we want to move it. But I don't think it would be too disruptive out there. We could make it work, and I think it would be fine.
Okay. I don't know, Chuck, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine too, and the sooner we can get after that stuff, I think the better, and if we're able to afford it in the budget, let's do it.
Mr. Dale, one question on the ADA compliance. If that slips to 28, are we still okay legally? And
Chairman Landenberger and Manager Reap, the one thing to keep in perspective is, so to meet standards, we need to show progress. We've gone through and done the access audit. We have created a transition plan, and we're moving forward. We have the CIP in place and steps to make improvements to meet ADA ultimately. There isn't a deadline. We can't just ignore the stuff. We've identified it. Now we need to make steps towards repairing those issues. Whether it happens in 27 or if it happens in 28, I don't think it's an issue.
Okay. When do you need something from us, Dave, for your budget? When is there?
I think, Chairman Landenberger, what might be best is I can relay back to our finance director and our executive director. Right now, we want to pare it down to lot 1 and the bathroom, but it may come later that we're just going to do one of those.
Okay.
So I can move forward with that
Okay.
until you guys have a final say. And if it's within the next month or so,
Let you know.
I think we can still go down. Our board doesn't formally approve their budget, I want to say until September, because I think it's due in October, if I remember correctly, the dates.
we started having our discussions in June, and we got to present to the county commission in June preliminary.
So I think in that sense, and that's kind of why I'm thinking, if we can leave it in there with the 2, but then after that discussion that it's got to get pared down, we can make that.
Okay.
We can make that discussion.
I'm in favor.
Consensus from the board?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Yep, thank you. All right, moving on, item E, Chuck, the aeration discussion this morning?
Yeah, I talked to the gentleman from Sunflow here last week regarding aerating, putting some aerators in the McDowell Dam, and where we would put them in regards to where they should be to be most effective. And he had given me information here with Harmon Lake that they recently put 3 of them in there. And literally, it was within weeks, the water quality and everything just improved greatly. And these new ones that are out now, they run off of solar power, and they would run 365, 24/7, and keep going. And you can actually have them on your phone or whatever. So Dave would have that information out there and be able to monitor it, and it would tell of any alarms that it would create or anything like that. But from the initial reports and looking at Harmon Lake, it's done a tremendous job with the lake itself. So
Are Dave and Dave aware of this discussion at all? Okay, maybe that's something too that maybe
Yeah.
Chuck, you could get with them just to explain to them so they're just units that, so do they operate in the winter as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so they don't, the ice doesn't,
365. The new ones now, they do that.
okay,
So they're moving fast enough to keep the water from
Yeah.
freezing, yeah.
Yep.
Any
And there's about-
issues with safety from ice fishermen? We need to
I,
cone it off or?
what Harmon Lake has done is in the wintertime, they just push them into a bay
Okay, that's what I was
And,
wondering.
and just have them out there just because of that exact issue right there, so, yep.
Chairman
Some
Landenberger,
questions.
that's exactly what I was going to ask. Actually, David Robinson and I were just having a conversation that there used to be one there.
Yeah, I kind of.
And a while back, there was an issue, and because it created such thin ice, somebody actually, it wasn't at McDowell Dam, but at a different location, somebody actually fell in. So that's my first concern.
So if we pull them over to a bay, you know,
I guess the
freeze up.
question I would ask is it necessary that they run in the winter?
I don't,
I mean, generally, if you're going to have an aerator in the winter, it's to keep the ice, to
Right.
keep it open.
right.
But I don't see a necessity to keep it open.
Yeah.
If the idea is to aerate it to get better water quality, then I'm all for it. But if we can, disconnect and shut them down during the winter and pull them out of the water, or however that works.
Yeah, you could literally do that, Dave, is what you could do, is pull
Yeah.
them out.
Is that something that park staff would do, or do they have crews that go around
I
and kind
can,
of help?
I can work, I can ask Wayne about that
Okay.
when I meet with him.
Okay.
Now, what's the size dimensions of these units? Does he kind of have that, Chuck?
Look into here. I'd say they gotta be about like the size of a pickup box or something like that.
Okay.
Is basically what they are, and then they got the solar panels around them.
And they're recommending 2 units?
Two, yep. One at the, up by the, couple of the intakes on the northwest side of McDowell Dam where the influence coming in, where a lot of your
Nutrients are coming,
nutrients are
yep.
and stuff there, and getting those mixed up and moved around there. And the other one was towards the southeast end, past the
Closer
beach
to
and
the dam.
stuff.
Closer
So
to the
closer
dam.
to the dam
Sure.
right
Where it
there.
gets some deeper water.
And he thinks that with just those two running there, that they could be able to accommodate and work with the whole dam. Because Harmon Lake has 3 in there right now because of and their size is a little bit bigger as far as acreage and stuff covering there.
One thing to consider, and you'd mentioned solar for them both, just in our conversation, the power's still out there for the one that was in place, and the power's out by the new vault toilet that was put in by the dam. So if we're talking about putting one there, can it run on electricity? The existing electricity, can existing electricity still be updated?
Yeah,
Is it
something
still in
check
good
with it.
shape? Is there some cost savings in there
Yeah.
for that, something like that?
Okay.
Okay?
Is there any kind of obstructions we have to worry about for water sports, kayaking?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, people should be aware that
Right.
they're right there
Yeah.
and understand. That's like with any body of water, anything, you got stuff in there, people should
Yep.
be,
Yeah.
it's on them.
Good question though, Brian.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, a
Is it
couple things.
fountain, or is it just?
Nope, just
Underwater.
Underwater, yep.
Okay, so it's not somebody's gonna get close to and get sprayed or anything like that?
No.
Okay, and it
There's
doesn't,
like-
it
I
doesn't
think there's-
create, does it create an undertow?
I'm not exactly sure.
So that'd be
I'm
the
gonna find
concern.
out.
I don't think so.
I think it is just circulating the water and everything and from the prelim stuff here for Harmon Lake and the impact. It has brought the oxygen levels down further into the lake itself. Create more oxygen down there and everything too. And 10, 12 feet, I'm guessing, has been the numbers as far as that. And then once you get a little deeper, it's not as efficient. But in this case, I think it would be plenty efficient.
Okay.
So, absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, a couple things. Aerators were looked at in the water quality study that we've done before. I have not dug back into it, but obviously the technology and what's being used is different than what we talked about way back when. The other thing, as far as navigation side of the equation, I'm sure they have markers, and they probably since they got solar power, they probably could put some flashing lights or something on it. I don't know what their system is, but I think we don't have any motorized boats out there, so we don't have that risk. People on kayaks and stuff, they're going to be slow enough, they can see it from that perspective. But I'll go back and take a look at what we had way back when, because I know the technology is different, because I think one of the ones we were looking at one actually had to Dave's point, more of the spraying environment,
Right.
where we're taking water and moving it up in the air in order to oxygenate it. This is more, and I'm curious as to where they're locating it because of the bathymetry of the lake. I don't know if they have any of that information, but we can give that to them. So they're placing it in the area where they're getting the greatest benefit as far as the water body and the water column. And I suspect, I know a number of people over at Harmon. I can visit with Jamie Wetch over there and have a conversation with him as to how they're working and where they place them, just for background information,
Right.
so.
Yep.
Or I can give you Jamie's name and you contact him directly, either way.
Yep, and I have the impact reports and the installation
Yep.
summaries for Harmon Lake and everything too, and if you guys would like that, I'd
Yeah.
be more than happy to forward it to you.
Yeah, I think let's share it with the board and
And
Dave
Dave,
and
yep, absolutely.
Michael. We can
Yep.
kind of look at that and maybe bring it back next month. Or-
Is it an actual paddle or is it like an air diffuser?
I think it's just running off of there and it's just pushing air down into the water, just circulating it.
Mr. Chairman, it might be good to have a conversation with our insurance carrier to see whether there are any exclusions for aerators. I'd be happy to look at it, or manager, and then Chuck Mitchell could look at that as well.
Okay.
Just to make sure we're on the right track.
Right, that's a good idea.
My other thought too here, Chuck, is, depending on what the costs are here, we would likely have to go to bids, I would think. So that's something too we'll have to look into.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. So yeah, we'll send some information, then we can kind of circle back next month.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Chuck on that? Okay. All right, quite the discussion on McDowell Dam today. That's good. Let's move on to item 6 this morning, financial reports. Manager Reed.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, board members, page 23 to 25 is the balance sheet and supporting information. I'll just go through some of the activity in April as per usual. Our checking balance, we started with $2,225,606.77. We paid bills, including a Fox Island special assessment transaction in the amount of $250,669.31. We had income in the amount of $93,195.67, which included $18,000 in real estate tax, $4,500 in state aid. We had McDowell Dam income in the amount of slightly over $8,000. Most of that was land lease payment for 2025 and 2026. And then some special assessments in the amount of $3,600 collections as well. Subsequent to that, we did get a primary residence credit from Burleigh County in the amount of $221,820. It did not meet these numbers, so you'll see that on undeposited funds. That amount is the primary tax credit reimbursement through Burleigh County from the state. So anyway, ending balance of $2,068,133.13. In the checking account, Bravera Wealth, the rates are 0.01 lower than they were at this time last month. So again, basically status quo. I think it's wise to keep them in there as is. But we had about $7,000 in interest through Bavera Wealth. And so that balance is $2,510,402.35. Total, including receivables, assets, $5,514,051.94. The O&M funds and special assessment funds are balanced, and check those out. They seem to be in good order. I guess with that, Mr. Chairman, board members, I move for approval of the balance sheet as presented in your packet.
Okay, got a motion by Manager Reap to approve the balance sheet.
I'll second.
Got a second by Manager Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none. Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Maker,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yep.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, board members, page 26, 27, the profit and loss statement for the month of April. Just one item of note, if you notice, our real estate tax collections to date is almost $900,000. That does include that primary residence credit that was not deposited in our checking account at the time of the closure for these reports, but it is in that profit and loss statement. Just wanted to note that.
Okay.
With that, I would recommend approval of the profit and loss statements as presented. Move to approve.
Okay, got a motion by Manager Reap to approve the profit and loss statement this month.
I'll second.
A second by Manager Mitchell. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mager,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reap,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Profit and loss is,
And then on page 28 is pledge securities is required from Bavara Bank covering our deposits. So just for note of that. One item that, could have been a budget or a agenda item, sorry, but is we do need to start planning for budgeting process in the past. I have participated, the chairman's participated, and Wendy. And so I guess barring any interest from other board members, I would recommend that we get together in the next few weeks and get ready for a mid to late June submittal to the County Commission Budgeting Committee.
sounds good. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. Maybe we'll set that up. All right, I did have one question, Dennis, and maybe Michael, regarding the MRCC Special Assessment District. Where does that sit today? I see we have a negative balance on that. Is that?
We do have a 9,200 negative balance, and so according to our books.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there really has not been any O&M costs that I recall that would
Right.
create that balance. Obviously, the payments should be coming in through the tax unless there's a shortage on that side.
Okay, so we'll have to look at those in the budget.
Or there should be two accounts, Wendy, if I recall. The one is for the special assessment, the other is for the O&M side.
For MRCC.
Yeah,
We had a bond payment in March in the amount of $28,230. That's
okay.
That's what put it in.
That's probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That would put it in the negative. The question then is the collection side. Are there any, from the assessor side, are there any people in arrears?
Yeah, I mean, we had a collection in 9,500 also in March, 400 in April. So, yeah, we're just recovering from that bond payment.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
In general, in the last year, it's been tracking towards negatives.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay, if no other questions this morning, we can move on to item 7, drainage permits and complaints. Michael, I assume there's no update on the Keelboat Park?
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
I've done a little bit more digging, but I have not finished that yet. So.
Okay. How about in the Hawk Tree?
Hawk Tree, basically, the stormwater management plan was submitted. Houston Engineering did have an opportunity to review and comment on that. The Highway Department has reviewed and commented on it. I don't know the final updates. That's basically the extent till it's approved, so.
Yep, they have the comments back, they're working on them, then they'll resubmit.
Okay.
So it's in process.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Okay, we can move on to item C, Manager Mager. You got an update on Knutson?
Yeah, so, met with Barb Knutson, a couple, 3 weeks ago. Get closer to this microphone. During that discussion, kind of talked about all the issues and kind of pointed out, what she believed could possibly be, the obstruction. She noted officially that she would like her, form amended as that obstruction is known as the Mahar. On page 29 of your packet, I have a map. And basically it's downstream a few miles. It is a private crossing. It's not, for those looking on the map, be on the left-hand side there. There's a blow-up insert on the bottom left. And the elevations presented are based off of the 2024 QL2 LiDAR collect. You can see the Knutson property on the left. Elevations sit at right around 1702. And the crossing, top of roadway, if you will, is right around 1693. So the Knutson property is higher. As of this date, that crossing has washed out. And so I think for, I guess, starters, I'd like to make a proposed motion that we dismiss the complaint based on the fact that the crossing is no longer in place. Some more background here. If you do look at those elevation dots, you can see upstream and downstream of that crossing that there is 1.5 feet of water difference between upstream and downstream. I don't know where we want to call an obstruction or where we want to call a impacted area. But I would propose drafting a letter and sending it to the property owner, Mahar, that placement of a future crossing must be in compliance with some standard, stream crossing standards, as you may be aware, apply to public crossings. It's gonna get into, a little bit of a conversation of what the board wants to consider as a formal obstruction, and how we go from there. So I guess open and kind of up for discussion. I can kind of talk through the map or talk through the complaint itself, but as of right now, I look to dismiss the complaint based on the amended obstruction complaint being filed against that crossing, which is now no longer in existence. However, if that crossing should be replaced, having a conversation with what we would and what we would not consider to be an obstruction. So open up for comments.
Questions for Manager Mager?
Do we have a pretty high level of confidence that he'll replace the crossing?
I would assume he would. It's washed out a number of times from aerials. And so it does appear that the crossing would be placed back to some degree.
And what kind of authority do we have on design standards? I mean, if it's a private crossing?
There really isn't any. Mr. Chairman, there really isn't any design standards to private crossings other than the fact that they can be put in and cause damages, if you will, from an obstruction complaint perspective on the upstream properties. In this case, you do have a differential between the elevations. Brian, can you tell me you found one with the crossing in place? These are those elevations?
Yeah, so this is the
Okay.
2024 QL2 collect, which has the crossing in place.
Okay, and I think that's important to understand. In this particular case, the crossing is in place and the elevations and the differences in elevation between Barb Knutson's property and this location. So to the point of, he's put it in, the crossing's been there since '94, and it's out, and then it's back, and then it's out, and then it's back. It continues to wash out. And as it turns out, it sounds as though, Random Creek is the designated name from Mackenzie Slough to this crossing into Apple Creek. And that's where the primary flows are coming from that create the washout. So from that perspective, I agree with Manager Mager's scenario as far as dismissal. Also from the standpoint of the crossing, just to let Mr. Maher know that, hey, whatever he puts back in, it'd be prudent to have it looked at, given the status of the complaint in the background. I will add a little caveat, do a little bit of a squirrel here. The scenario that I'm thinking instinctively that's happening with the Knutson property goes back to the high water levels and the continued high water levels and the longer flow durations that we're having from Long Lake Creek, which is a whole nother topic. But as far as her complaint against Mr. Maher, I agree that dismissal is the appropriate path.
Mr. Chairman, Brian, and so first question, these are LiDAR data points that you grabbed off the LiDAR data set, so are we talking top of water elevation in some cases?
Yeah,
Okay.
so all of them I tried to shoot as water, just so we can get a water surface profile.
Gotcha.
The only ones that are not are those Knutson properties, those 1,700 elevation.
So, I mean, we're talking 7 feet of drop, 8 feet of drop over a couple miles. I mean, I think I'd be surprised that this actual crossing is causing her issues, but.
Right, I would agree with that.
And then, but the other thing I would add is if our recommendation could be and should be to the landowner that has a crossing is, put a culvert in, something to allow passage of the water, at grade.
I believe there historically has been
Just as
some
a
form
culvert.
of a culvert.
Gotcha.
I think it's just inadequate sizing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what comes down to his standpoint, he's put in a 24 and then put in a 36 and then put in two 36s. He just can't keep up with the size, plus how is he actually, the compaction of the crossing itself.
Driving over it and collapsing it.
Yeah, part of the scenario he's got here, he's got cattle, and the cattle don't necessarily walk on the crossing. He's hoping they do, but they step off the side of the crossing, and obviously they drown, which creates issues. He is in the process of discussing how to relocate some of his operations, but I still think that at some point in time, he's going to want to reestablish that crossing to get to kind of an isolated part of his property.
Did water levels go down on the Knutson property after the crossing washed out?
We don't know when the crossing washed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some anecdotal evidence that some reason all of a sudden the water levels dropped, but there's no definitive direction that it was because they're not of this. What you have here too, from a hydraulic standpoint, is you had a confluence between Apple Creek and Random Creek. And years ago, there was always the discussion that Apple Creek flooded and backwatered through Random Creek into McKenzie Slough. And then after some kind of the review and background, it almost sounds as though anecdotally it actually goes the other way. And that backwater is not as big as what might be there. Though this has not been hydraulically analyzed as far as a floodplain scenario. FEMA had us stop at the highway, Interstate 94. At some point down the road, it might be nice to actually model that, but it's not necessary at this point for the complaint.
Brian, have you been out to the site, actually, where the crossing's at?
No, it's on
No.
private property. I have not gone that far
Okay.
yet.
Nice, that's Maher? Is it?
Yep.
Okay. It's interesting that there is that almost 2.5 feet of water surface
Right,
drop.
right.
You've got to have almost a little rapids.
Well, what I would see based on the old aerial photos, and again, I haven't been out there either, but the scenario as this washes out, you have sediment accumulation downstream. So you have that, if you want to call it, little delta formation from all the washouts that probably hasn't completely flushed.
Yeah.
So that would, to me, create that 2.5 foot difference because Apple Creek is a very, very flat gradient in general.
Right, yeah.
So anecdotally, just thinking about it instinctively, that would be probably a primary cause of that.
Okay. So I think we probably need a motion to dismiss.
Yeah.
So did
Motion
you,
for or dismissal, and then if we do want to make a motion for sending a letter to Mahar for any future.
just add that to the motion?
Yep.
Okay.
And that letter would, how would we word that? Would we say in there that we have past complaints?
Right.
Charging that is an obstruction?
It could
But
be,
we
it could
don't-
be.
Could be viewed
Could
as.
be, 'cause
Yep,
we
yep.
don't, we're not even convinced ourselves.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
right. So that
So
we have any
it would
future.
have to be worded that way.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And I-
something along the lines that if it would be found to be an obstruction, the board could order or would order it removed. So it'd be prudent in your best interest to
Work with it.
not have this as an obstruction, so the
Yep.
board doesn't remove it.
In essence, and I'll give you some background, Josh has been out there and got permission to go look at it. He has not looked at it, so he's not been on the ground. But Mr. Maher is aware of it. Obviously, he has the issues. There's kind of background that we've learned from those conversations. And I think he's looking for a solution. He'd like to have one, but he also understands, and I think if he gets the letter, he'll understand that, hey, whatever I put in, I should run by the board first to make sure that what I'm doing is prudent and not going to create a secondary issue. So I don't see that as an adversarial approach on this at all.
Okay, we got a motion by Manager Manger to dismiss the complaint and send a letter to the landowner regarding the crossing.
I'll second.
Okay, got a second by Manager Smith. Any discussion? If not, Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Mager,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Okay, so you work with Wendy to
Yep, Wendy, yep.
get the letter, okay?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, we can move on to Long Lake Refuge update this morning. Michael?
Okay, a couple things. Obviously, it's a long process, and we've been through the disposal, for lack of a better thing, and spinning around a little bit. Where it sets right now, after a number of conversations with Roger and Brian and Dave and Josh, the standpoint that the refuge has issues. At one point in time, we went back and talked to the Kidder County folks and said, hey, looking at getting complaints from you, had the meeting with them, so they were gonna pass it to their water resource district and said, okay, as soon as we get there, we'll let you know. Had additional conversations with the managers and came to the conclusion, somewhat at Brian's suggestion, which I concur with, is a standpoint, if we have the authority, the board, to pursue this without a formal complaint process, that it simplifies things from a legal perspective. David pointed out, and Dave, if I step too far on the legal side, tell me if I'm out of line. Because you have those structures in your county, or in Burleigh County, does not necessarily mean you have pure jurisdiction over them because of the federal nexus. They're federal property, they're federal structures, so realistically, the Fish and Wildlife Service has jurisdiction over them. So the context of the, if you want to call it SOP or standard operating procedure, is if you are aware of this issue, which you are, and all of the background information, to go directly to the Fish and Wildlife Service, have a discussion with the refuge manager, as Josh has, and I think Roger's visited with him as well. I have not. We've exchanged emails for data collect, is to have a conversation with them and say, hey, what can be done to resolve these issues? Obviously, from the Stutsman County side, Stutsman County has completed a letter and a transmittal of the summary of issues, which really is the summary of issues to present to the Fish and Wildlife Service and say, here, based on the original data that you provided from your files, the issues in that particular area, and how would you like to go about resolving those? The discussion was for this board to send a letter to the Fish and Wildlife Service along with the Stutsman County data to get that process started. Okay, but to have a meeting in advance before the letter's sent, so you have the dialogue and the discussion as to where things can go, what they're interested in doing. What I understand is that Jared and others are saying, hey, we know we have a problem out here, and we'd like to address it, but in order for us to address it, we need, I wouldn't necessarily call it a formal complaint, but we need somebody to put something on paper that says, you know, here's what's going on, here's our or here's where we need to fix that. I can tell you that I did request from the DWR all of their permit data and the background information that they have on that structure of the refuge. I did receive that. Preliminary review would indicate that Fish and Wildlife Service was aware of this issue long before now. What that means, I mean, I haven't gone through the data and dug through the details. I will prior to the meeting with Fish and Wildlife Service. So the idea now is to have the meeting with the Fish and Wildlife Service, have Roger set that up, sit down with them, talk through it, show them the information that we have, and then, you know, say, okay, how would you like this to proceed from your perspective to get the ball rolling, to get your headquarters to have something done. Like I said, it's been a long, drawn-out process, but I think based on Manager Mager's suggestion and based on Dave's legal review of the process, that we're on the right path.
Yeah. You had mentioned a letter being sent. Did that letter get sent then?
The letter to the refuge, no.
Okay.
No, the discussion is that we want to bring the information to the refuge one-on-one in a meeting, have a
meeting
conversation, and then say how it, you know, because it may go, be honest with you, it may go with the phrasing. What is it that you would like us to say that would assist the process, rather than us saying something? Because again, it goes back to the complaint picture. We don't necessarily want to make a complaint and all of a sudden get in a process to where we have to step through all the federal regs relative to a complaint. In other words, keep it as an open discussion right now. Dave pointed out too that any of the landowners, Cater or Burleigh, if they wanted to file a complaint, that option is still open to them. In other words, that's not been closed. But this is more of an open dialogue discussion to try and move the situation forward and resolve the longstanding concerns with the water management in the refuge.
Okay, so what's next steps? Getting that meeting scheduled then?
So the next steps would be schedule a meeting with Jared, the refuge manager.
Okay.
And show him the letter that we intend on sending to him. I know it sounds a little strange to have their input on a letter, but ultimately, as he looks at his administration above him, and budgets, and I'm speaking a little bit for him, so he knows that without some kind of government entity pushing them to resolve the issue, that issue may not reach a very high priority. And so he knows that the refuge is, the reservoir is too high in the refuge, and not only impacting land outside of easements, it's impacting his refuge mission. You know, it's really just a lake full of carp. And so ultimately, he'd like to be able to control that elevation and lower it. And there's a number of scenarios whereby it's a win-win for upstream landowners, the refuge, and without, possibly impacts to downstream landowners.
And refresh my memory, we got complaints from, was it Kidder County and residents of Burleigh County, or was it?
No, there were no formal complaints filed.
And
okay.
the refuge has not received, in the 10 years that he has been refuge manager, he has not received an official complaint either.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the way this process kind of worked out was Stutzman County investigating the issue. We heard tons of complaints at the public meeting, how the refuge was this, the refuge was that, but nobody knew what the issues were. They didn't know what to complain about. Shouldn't liken it, but it's a little bit like the Knutson scenario. She was complaining about the general conditions, but didn't know what to point the finger at. In this particular case, I think the pretty easily identified what the issues are. But the landowners have never taken it to the refuge. They didn't know what was causing their problem. They just knew they had a problem.
Do we need that complaint to continue to move forward with this?
And here is a discussion, Dave and I were having this relative to the, if you want to call it the legal process and the Fish and Wildlife Service. I think having a dialogue first is far better than sending in a formal complaint. Because if it's an informational exchange, then we don't get into the complaint process where all of a sudden in other words, the rule book changes. I think they recognize they have a problem, and if that problem can be elevated, it may be resolved or a direction for resolution without any formal complaint. But the landowners out there, obviously they complained to Stutzman County, which we kind of told them that issue's been there for a long time, or at least since the lake was raised. So they have the ability to file complaints, but they have not. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Roger can chime in here, we have a lot of moving jurisdictional parts, and the fewer that move, the better. So we have the supremacy clause, the federal government takes precedence over state law and county law, we know that. The difficulty here is that it's not only the spillway itself and other structures, it's actually the impacts of the spillway and who actually has jurisdiction over that. That's a little grayer. We may say the water district does. More likely than not, it's the federal government who has that. The federal government has a separate complaint process. Districts have their complaint process. Really, we've talked about this before. No questionnaires, no complaints. Less is more at this point. Roger can, we can meet with Long Lake and just say, look, here's what we need to have happen. Once we start formalizing this thing, the same rule applies with other districts, Kidder County Water District or Stutzman County. We have no specific joint powers agreements or agreements with them to handle these complaints. So jurisdictionally, we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and if we don't need to go there, let's not, because that pushes us into another realm and procedure. And I just think if we can somehow negotiate with them, like Roger, we get a meeting with those guys, and maybe touch upon these jurisdictional issues, say, how are we going to handle this? If a complaint comes down the road, well, then we're just going to have to deal with that. But if it doesn't, and we might even have some informal agreements with Fish and Wildlife Service, if in fact this district does get a complaint, what do we do with that? The board has 120 days, and we just have this process we have to do. I would hope that as a part of our meeting with Fish and Wildlife Service, we can address these procedural issues so we don't get in the mix of all of this other stuff, which really isn't solving the problem. But I hope that we can sort of build something when we have that meeting between the federal government and DWR is involved in this thing too, as well as the district.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, to add to that, because you have the jurisdictional crossovers, Kidder, Burleigh, is that Roger and us can have the meeting with Fish and Wildlife Service. I will update Kidder County, as part of the process and let them know what's happening. Ultimately, Kidder County would be brought into the discussion once we have the discussion with Fish and Wildlife Service as to where they may go. There may be a need for Kidder County to provide data. There may be a desire, maybe a desire is probably a better word, for Burleigh County to provide data. But, Kidder County should provide their data independently of Burleigh County because it's their jurisdiction. So they're kind of as that crossover, kind of goes to where we were looking at with the complaint. If we had the complaint filed from their landowners and Burleigh County landowners, then you can put them together and consider it as a single one. In this case, with the jurisdictional issue and having a conversation first, Kidder County needs to be brought into that conversation, but I think it's important rather than spin the wheel and doing it 2 or 3 times to find out what the direction is before bringing them in for the conversation.
I see we have some Fish and Wildlife Service people in the and I do have a question maybe that they would, if they'd be willing to answer. And
I couldn't even see him over there because I'm sorry about
we're
that.
We're talking like you're not even here.
Chairman, managers, my name is Jared Newton. I'm the station manager of Long Lake National Wildlife Refuge and Long Lake Wetland Management District, which includes properties in Burleigh, Kidder, and Emmons County. I also have with me Sean Lofgren. He's the project leader for the Central North Dakota Wetland Management District, which is a bigger area. He's my supervisor. We saw that we were on the agenda today and have been speaking with some folks individually, but wanted to take this opportunity to introduce ourselves to you guys. Happy to work with you all, have the opportunity to solve issues that affect both of our arenas. And I think we want to work in a collaborative effort to try and resolve these issues. We understand that there's changes on the landscape, changes in how the water moves in the landscape, and those are affecting the way that the refuge operates, and upstream and downstream from the refuge. So we do understand that there are some issues that need to be looked at, and I guess what our intent is to, like I said, work with you, more so garner your support for when we are bringing these things to a higher level.
Yeah.
And happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah. Thank you, Jared.
Did I speak correctly then when I said that presently the reservoir is higher than you'd want it, and the inability to manage it at a lower elevation doesn't exist?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I forgot your first name again.
Jared.
Jared. So I heard that a letter from an entity such as the Burleigh County Water Resource District could be helpful in your process. Yes.
Yes.
And then, so my follow-up question to that, is it helpful if you have multiple letters from multiple government entities?
I think it would be beneficial if we had something from Kidder County as well.
Okay.
I know the commissioners from Kidder County, we do have a relationship with them, so obviously happy to work with them as well on this situation.
And then, if I may, one more follow-up question. You said there's probably some, buzzwords that may be helpful in that letter that help your process, and so you'd be willing to share that insight with us as the letter gets developed?
Yes, happy to work with Manager Mager and Manager Smith to identify the best way to address that.
Okay. Good.
I would just
Appreciate
add,
you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Jared,
Yeah.
Brian.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's our immediate next step that we discussed, is have that discussion and get the letter sent off, and let's see where it goes. That would be my thoughts.
And Jared, thank you. I'm hiding behind over here.
Yes.
I thank you for the information you submitted. We talked, or emailed back and forth. I did create the summary for Stutzman County. You'll be seeing that. We'll share that with you, some background. There's some information at the DWR level you heard me mention. I'll share some of that. And the collaborative effort here, I think, is critical because obviously visiting with Roger and his background, Ducks Unlimited, been around for a number of years relative to management of waters and the refuges per se. I think there's a great opportunity here to not only get the refuge back on mission, if you will, personal opinion, from a technical perspective, but also to get the landowners back to where, oh yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. There's a dual opportunity here that I think is very beneficial to both sides. And I think there's some technical issues, obviously, from a management of the waters, the structure and other things. I'm looking forward to a very positive interaction in making this go forward. So we'll be in touch.
Yeah, happy to hear that, Mr. Gunsch. We are excited about it too, actually. Okay. I think this has the opportunity to make some very positive impacts for the refuge. But we are aware that things that we change on the refuge impact Burleigh County downstream as well. So that's why we want to work with you.
Jared, if I could have you expand a little bit. When we were discussing, you were giving me some history of the refuge and how at one time it was used by waterfowl. You even gave some numbers, and now at the elevation it's created some impacts that aren't necessarily favorable to waterfowl. Maybe for the rest of the managers, maybe you could expand on that because they might not fully understand what the high water levels are doing.
So Long Lake Refuge was established in 1932, very dry time in North Dakota. Long Lake is a natural lake, a shallow lake. It's not was never a substantial fishery by any means. It was a waterfall lake. Had a lot of emergent vegetation, things like that are good for migrating waterfowl and nesting waterfowl and brood rearing, all of those things. One of the major problems that it had was being an alkali lake, enclosed vegetation. Those situations tend to develop botulism outbreaks, which can have a severe impact on the waterfowl that are using that area. It basically, like botulism in your face, it deadens nerves, and what it would do is reduce their ability to hold their head up, and they end up drowning. And it spreads quickly in those scenarios. So the solution that they came up with to solve that was increasing the water level. They applied for elevated water right to increase the depth of the lake. For the most part, it had the intended effect of reducing botulism outbreaks. Went from hundreds of thousands of birds dying to thousands or hundreds or none. So we had that intended solution to that problem. Unfortunately, raising the lake made it possible for carp, rough fish, to inhabit that lake on a consistent basis, disturbing the vegetation, disturbing the bottom, the substrate, increasing the turbidity of the lake. Now that vegetation essentially doesn't grow in that lake, and it has become, as you stated, that I stated, a carp lake. And we still do get lots of migration. There is still use there, but it is not at the extent to what our historic documents state that was once the use. So in this process, through lowering it, there will be some positives and some negatives associated with potentially doing that work. Don't know what they all may be. Some things we won't foresee as well, but we expect that the carp would no longer be able to live in that situation. Vegetation would regrow. It would become much more habitable for waterfowl year-round, but we're going to increase our likelihood of botulism outbreaks again. So that's a management concern that we have to deal with.
Lesser of two evils, right?
There's good things and bad things about both, yeah, absolutely.
Well, good. Well, yeah, I appreciate you showing up this morning and giving us some additional information. And as kind of everybody said here this morning, looking forward to collaborating with you all to see if we can, be a solution provider in this whole process. And yeah. So next steps, then schedule a meeting. Roger, Brian, will you both?
I'll schedule a meeting with Brian. It can be, what I'll do is email the draft to him, so he'll have the opportunity to review the draft letter. And then probably get to handle it over the phone, and after your review, we can discuss how to finalize it, and then we will finalize it and send you the letter. Does that sound good?
Yeah, happy to facilitate it however you want. Any of you are also welcome to come out to the refuge if you would like as well.
Yeah, actually, that might work as well. I'm looking at my calendar.
Yeah, it may actually, Mr. Chairman, it may be, we were talking about having the meeting at Houston Engineering, which is fine. Or it may actually be beneficial if you've got a little conference room at the refuge.
We do.
To be on site, and then we can point to things and say, look out the window, it's over here. I mean, I got a pretty good idea of where things are at. I've driven around and know where things are at, but being in your office and talking about things directly may be helpful. I would suggest, I will be in contact, I know you know them all, the Decatur County folks, but because of the jurisdictional issue here, I will be in contact with them regarding this process and where this is going, because at some point in time, everybody needs to be in the room in the discussion and open and transparent. So, but we'll step through this a little bit at a time, trying not to overstep, so that you get what you need. I can tell you from the standpoint, I'm also working on the Crystal Springs project, as you know. Stutsman County doesn't have any jurisdiction here, but they do have the potential for sending water. I'll be kind of if you want to say the contact informational person, but there will be nobody from Stutsman County in that process, because they're two separate issues. One's a project-related issue, this is a refuge management issue. So it's tough to kind of keep things separate, but I think it's important for the landowners are looking at that way too, so.
Yep, I understand the jurisdictional complications.
Yep. Thank you.
Chairman Lenberger, I do have to recuse myself from interactions
Sure.
with another federal
That makes
agency.
sense. Yep.
How's next Tuesday, like the 19th, that afternoon? Would that work for you?
My son is graduating from 5th grade that day, so that was a
Oh,
terrible day.
How about the Monday afternoon, like the 18th?
The afternoon,
Yeah.
I think that's
Or
fine.
even, it doesn't matter, actually, it could be morning or afternoon, but typically Monday mornings are reserved for other things.
Yeah,
You guys pick a time that's open for me too, if,
The 18th,
yeah.
okay? And, yeah, it'd just be me and you and I.
Yeah.
about,
Yep.
And, we'd leave here after lunch, maybe set it for like 2 o'clock or something on Monday.
that'd be fine.
Okay, all right,
Let's be in touch to confirm that.
okay.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
All right. We can move on to item E this morning. Michael, any update on the Cook property?
Couple things on the Mike Cook property. I understand Mike showed up at one of the county commission meetings and basically said the same thing he said before, is nobody's helping him. So I want to touch base on that aspect. We prepared a memo. I have a copy of it. We completed it. I guess I printed out a draft copy, but it's been finalized. We basically let Mike Cook know the background as to where the city's at, extraterritorial area, where the Water Resource District is at, and where the Highway Department's at. And there's nobody there there's no jurisdictional authority to go in and fix his particular concern. There's also some questions in my mind as to what's actually going on out there, even though we know that the development of the commercial industrial area has obviously put more water on his property. That is there, that's a truth. the solution, or one of the only directions that we see available to Mr. Cook, and we pointed it out in the memorandum, was be to actually go and get a petition, get people to sign on, and create a special assessment district for a drainage project. Now, one can answer the question, this is still within the ETA, but it's still county property. So it may be a jurisdictional question as far as creating a special assessment district within the ETA, but I believe you can. But that's a process that's important. What happens with Mr. Cook in his summary is that he's going to be ending up paying a good portion of the cost, because from a benefit standpoint, which we've looked at, the largest beneficiary is him. It may be caused by somebody else, but that's immaterial. He has runoff of his own, and based on the runoff component, he has a large portion of that. So he would have to get a number of those individual landowners within the industrial park, if you will, to sign off on the petition to say, yes, we're interested in paying for a portion of that solution or improvement. That being said, as you know, with special assessment districts, this board can review applications or petitions, if you will, for such projects. You can also, if you desire, bond for such projects. In other words, you bond for the preliminary engineering report, and if the project doesn't go forward, you have the ability to collect on that bond or recover your costs. Now, you've not bonded in past projects, but you've also ended up with a past project in your hands that unfortunately you had a lot of costs for because the landowners decided not to go forward. So very quickly, the information's been provided to Mr. Cook. I don't know that there's any additional contact necessary. So, like I said, it's all been emailed to him so that he has that information. So.
Have we confirmed that he received that, and that he?
He actually asked for it twice. I've got several emails and said, by the way, we sent this to you earlier, and I sent it to him again.
Okay.
So. Now, I also did recommend, based on his commentary, I did recommend that if he wanted another engineer or legal to look at it for him and advise him, that he could pursue doing that. And to my knowledge, I've not heard back from him, so.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Question for Dave, I guess, on this ETA, is there anything we need to research on? I mean, we're all kind of nodding that we think that we have the ability to do this within that ETA, even though, because it's county property, but is that something we need to research?
Mr. Chairman, it is something we should probably look at. I can work with Mike and get the latest correspondence, and we'll see where we go on it.
Mr. Chairman, I know other legal drains or assessment drains out there have city entities that are actually part of the assessment district, so I can't imagine that there's any prohibition against creating an assessment district within an ETA.
Yeah.
I have one question, Mike. What's the estimated percentage that would be the responsibility of Mr. Cook?
If I recall the number, it's about 46%. So bottom line, he would need some of the property owners who are draining on him, if you want to look at it that way, to be part of that process.
Okay.
And remember, we did that based on a volumetric scenario on runoff for beneficiary.
Is there any other owners that are receiving some of this water?
No.
Or is he's the only one?
He's on the bottom end.
And Michael, when you say draining on him, are there actual drains?
No, this is the scenario where the watershed was all ag land, and now there's the Metro Industrial Park. So it was converted from ag land to basically urban and commercial property, which obviously has a higher level of runoff. So it's not formal drainage, it's just the runoff coefficient. And it is significant. It's a significant change.
If you go back, Roger, and look at the aerial photos, you'll see
Right.
that over the years, this area just keeps getting wetter.
And it's that industrial area that would be part of the assessment district?
Not all of it, but a good portion of it based on watershed, correct.
Okay.
Now, I can tell you that, having conversations with the city of Bismarck and Burleigh County Highway Department, there are restrictions now on the development of the final pieces of property out there relative to runoff coefficients and stuff. So there is some level of control. Obviously, before, nothing was controlled. You had a fact, this was developed long before the stormwater management plans were necessary.
Okay.
So therefore, the developer just, did what was necessary under the planning and zoning requirements at that point in time. But the individual stormwater permits are being considered and are being looked at. There's a number of culvert issues within the subdivision that have to be accommodated and changed for the conditions that are there.
Question, Michael, I didn't see the commission meeting, but was there discussion and was there, talk about the commission reaching out to us and asking us to get more involved? Casey, I don't know if you were there either, but I'm just curious if we need to touch base with the county commission and with Jerry.
At our last meeting, he came to us and like indicated, he's never received any help. So that was our real concern was he went on and on about he's done this, contacted these people, and nothing's been done. So we directed him to come to the Water Resource to file a complaint, and that's kind of where I think he knows more than he let us on by a long ways, in that he's the only receiver of the runoff, and nobody else is getting it. And he's got a bad situation because all this commercial is running onto him, and how do you stop it? I don't know. It'd be a pretty good chunk of change. So we headed him to this board, and that's where it's at.
Yeah. He filed a complaint
Quite a while ago,
a
apparently.
couple years ago?
And,
was October of '24.
Yeah.
and he didn't indicate that to us at the meeting. He just said, I haven't had any help. And he hasn't had any help because he knows what the result is going to be. Is he's going to end up being the funder of most of it. So
Yeah. And we met, Casey, with the highway department with Mr. Cook too, and kind of walked through some options and scenarios and potential costs there. And
right.
so it's not that we haven't done nothing. I mean, we've been trying to figure out.
Well, that was the point. He said.
Okay. Want to make sure you
we
guys
we
were
had
aware.
I shouldn't say we had the attitude from him that nothing has been done and this is a brand new situation and we should help him out. Well, that wasn't the case at all. So
Okay. All right. Thanks, Commissioner. Because Dave, I go to as far as well as, what sort of precedent we said, if we start looking at every individual and setting up special assessment districts to help offset this cost, is that, I know we had this discussion regarding Hogue Island too, right? At what point is, can you do an assessment district of one or two people, landowners, but something to look into, I think. I mean, at what point is, yeah.
I'll do that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you.
And from this perspective, we've got a list of the number of landowners. It's not just him.
Right.
Obviously, there's a lot of landowners, and based on where the culverts are at within the subdivision and which are actually contributing.
Yeah.
So I don't think the cost, again, if you're going to tell me I have to pay for something that somebody else may have done, it's pretty tough, I think, to get those other landowners to actually step up and participate in the process. Out of their goodwill, should they? Probably, because they are contributing. But then again, Mr. Cook is looking for a solution, as I gather, where he doesn't have to pay a big chunk of this because he thinks it's other people's issues. In this particular case, in order to spread the benefits, or shall we say the solution, he's going to end up paying a portion of it because there's no other funding source that can come in and repair that or correct that. So.
So with him not being a
Majority.
bigger benefactor, the assessment vote would actually be challenging, right? I mean,
You have to
Yes.
get at least one other landowner.
yeah, one other landowner, right? And then
Assuming.
you'd likely have a whole bunch of not very happy landowners.
And therein lies the scenario, having been, Mr. Chairman, through a number of public informational meetings, you would have, say, just as an example, Mr. Cook and a few others that are fine, and by volume, in number of people, you would have a number of people coming in and saying, we're not going to go here, and they're going to get the opinion, as with any assessment district, that, the people with the 50% carry the vote. And you're going to have a number of people who may not be happy. So this is a public information or a public relations issue as well in a project. I mean, we see it in all projects, obviously. But it's a public relations issue, to let everybody know what's going on should it ever get to that point. And I'm not saying you don't do it for that reason, but the scenario is just being aware of that.
There's a process that we, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments this morning? All right. There's no, we can move on to item 8. There's no other drainage permits and complaints that are being closed this month. We can move on to item 9, projects. Any updates this morning regarding the Hogue Island?
Yeah, I'll just kind of run through all of them. Access easement revisions. I've talked to Travis. Travis and I will get something to Dave shortly on those easements as far as new language goes. Obviously, the original ones were written in the 70s. They don't apply. The legal descriptions don't apply, so we'll be stepping those through to give that to Dave to review that language. On the Dave Chider, we did get the bathymetric survey done. We provided it to Braun. There is a slight bulge of the material shifting out into the river. So now they'll go into it and say, okay, what do we do to stabilize that and prevent that from continuing? So we don't have an answer on that. On the Roger Jonas one.
See, Michael, before we go to that
Sure.
one, so are they doing some soil borings or?
Soil borings are already done.
They were completed as well?
Yeah, they were completed. We just couldn't get the bathymetry data because ice moved in.
Okay.
So now we have the bathymetry data and they can complete their analysis.
Okay, so that's the next step, would be
Yep.
that Braun to provide some kind of a technical memo or
Right.
report on what their
As far as, what should be done for the.
findings and recommendations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. On the Roger Jonas one, what I suggest is, I suspect we're going to have some project at Chiders. I kind of directed Travis to get some numbers together for that Jonas site, submit to DWR the request for cost share. That's primarily going to be a remediation. In other words, placing rock where the rock has disappeared. But from a cost perspective, if you're doing anything at Chiders, doing Jonas's, you got a contractor out there, you're already delivering materials. It's a one bid process. So I think there's an advantageous position to be doing that rather than waiting for it to become worse and do it that way. So that's kind of been my direction. And then, of course, you would get the cost share scenario just like what happened on Chiders. And then, of course, the general 32 DWR, that's been submitted to the water plan. That's kind of an ongoing number that you submit on an annual basis.
Okay. So we're waiting to submit for the grant for the Jonas property. What is the plan there? Is there a timeline?
Well, we'll wait a little bit and probably see where Braun is at.
Okay.
Though we, if we're going to get something in for DWR, of course, that will be a director approval. It'll be under the 100,000. So let's wait for Braun and see what their recommendation is so we kind of get a feel for the project. But Travis has already kind of given a rough cut number as to how much rock would have to be brought in for that remediation.
Okay, so Braun is also assisting us on the Jonas property?
No.
No, that's
No.
when I was asking
Yeah,
about.
no,
Okay.
they don't need, they're not doing anything on that. All that is basically the backside of the revetment is washed out
Yep.
and the rock is gone. So it's a matter of restoring that rock that's.
But you're waiting just because of the Chider situation, try to get one contractor to do both. That's
Correct.
why they're waiting, right?
Yep,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay, so we'll wait to get the report from Braun to kind of maybe finalize what we're looking at for the Jonas
Right.
portion as
And
well.
because the cost shares are independent of one another with DWR, we'd wait, and then once we have the numbers, we would submit for the
And
combined.
submit to them, okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any questions on Hogue Island? Okay, move on to Project B, Apple Creek Slide this morning.
Okay, interesting scenario there. Some of it's pretty straightforward. The HMGP quarterly progress report was submitted. The cost share reimbursement has been submitted, all the documentation. I believe Wendy's actually got the check for that, for a reimbursement. The emergency action plan is kind of hanging out there. We finished that up. It's, like I said, probably 80 to 90% done. Interestingly enough, we received a call, or I should say, Burleigh County Highway Department received a call that something had moved out there and that something had slid into the creek. As it turns out, it's actually downstream to the south from the repair area, if you want to look at it that way. So it has impeded flow in the creek, but it's washing out. It's fairly stable, so just kind of monitor and let Mother Nature do its thing. We did have Braun go out and look because of the call. I got an email. I could share part of that. is that there's obviously still some movement on the major hill. There's a scarp starting to appear. We noted in the picking up of the monitoring from BAR is that we did notice some movement again in March. No movement recently. We thought maybe the recent little clip caused some movement in the inclinometers, but it's not showing at this point. So they're not interconnected at all. But we do have some movement there, and we'll continue to monitor going forward. So.
Casey, any other update regarding that new slide? I mean, we have photos. I don't know if you have those too, Michael, if we want to try to share with the board or not, but.
Yeah, I will share the link when I get back to the office.
Okay.
I just got it yesterday, didn't have a chance.
How
to-
far south of the UMary area is this new slide? Is it?
I'll let Casey address that. I don't believe it's very far, but.
Yeah, it's not very far. You're talking quarter, third of a mile to the south.
Okay.
On there, from April 17th, we flew that. Luckily, the drone picture just happens to catch the same area. Oh, we got the same angle, reshot it. You can see sometime between April 17th and yesterday, obviously something had let go in there. And it's maybe 70-ish% blocking, but it is moving through. It's not eroding on the side where houses are at. The part that's in the creek is the part that looks like it's eroding. Things look stable for the time being. We'll just continue to monitor it, especially after storms, everything. But we added that to our area on there, so when we fly the University of Mary one, we already have angles set up so we can kind of see that a little bit more and just keep our eye on it.
Okay. Just for the board's sake, so remember the first slide that happened, and it kind of angled the creek flow right into the bank, and then the highway, the road was right there. So that was kind of why that was a kind of a bigger deal, because of access for emergency vehicles, things of that nature, if that road were to get taken out. This one, there's not as much of an impact to Casey's Road, but there is a house there, and it seems like it just kind of shifted it, like Casey said, and blocked off part of it, but there's good flow running laterally along the bank, so it didn't angle it into the bank or anything of that nature like the last one. So, but from a bigger picture standpoint, the concern could be if it was to ever completely choke off Apple Creek, and that's the emergency action kind of scenario that we've kind of talked about, but it doesn't seem like that's an issue at this point.
Yeah, a couple aspects of the emergency action plan, visiting with Administrator Sanger at this point. The emergency action, there's the repair that was done by the University of Mary. That was the bigger, larger concern. There's also a smaller slide to the north, which has a lesser concern, and then now there's the stuff to the south. They're independent slides, but they're there. That EAP is in place, or can be in place, for action regardless as to which one goes.
Right.
So it's just an awareness scenario. The larger one obviously has the bigger impact, but the smaller ones could still have a notification process that, hey, there's been a slide down there, be aware. And then further notification or further information would be provided as it becomes available. So.
Yeah, good, thank you. Any questions for Casey? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to other old business.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I have to leave at 10 o'clock, but an update on the Garrison diversion.
Yeah.
Last week, we voted to appeal that send it to the district court, and so that our state's attorney has the information that's in her ballpark, so to speak, and they're going to proceed to do that. And I think, I don't want to predict what a court can do, but I think they're going to uphold the decision made by Garrison diversion. So we may appeal to Supreme Court. I don't know. I'm not in favor of that because it's expensive, and I think we know what the attitude of the district and the courts are. So, but that's where it's at anyway. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Say, Commissioner Woodcox, I was just curious, during this process, has there been any thoughts or discussions of the county meeting with Garrison to discuss mill levy and
Right.
just opportunities to reduce that?
Well, we're set with one mill now, 750,000 approximately.
Yeah.
And we've never negotiated with them to say, hey, cut it in half or something like that, which I think is a possibility, but the attitude of those that are pushing that is not,
Okay,
not,
I was just
not
curious.
in order to do that. So we'll see how it goes.
I think the language is up to 1 mil.
Yep, yep. But
I don't know
we've
if
never
there's ever
considered
been
that.
petition to consider.
And
less
they've
than
never,
that, but-
they've never given us an indication that we should go look at that line, but that's where we're at.
It's up to, so yeah, I was just curious. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. All right, I see Mitch isn't here, so there's probably no update this morning unless, Michael, you've heard anything regarding the, the CRS, but.
No, no
we're still
update
kinda
at this
waiting on
point.
some of those items.
He's working through the process. He's called and asked a couple of questions, but nothing significant at this point from our workload. So-
Okay. All right, and Commissioner just updated us on item B, so we can move, there's no other old business, we can move on to item 11, new business this morning. First item there, the summer meeting on July 15th and 16th. So I think I heard Manager Mitchell was looking to maybe attend. I think I am as well. I don't know, Dennis, you'll probably be there.
I plan to be, yes.
So that's something we'll probably have to post just with us three. I don't know, Brian or Roger, if you're planning to go.
Where is this one? Is
It's
it
in
here?
Watford City.
Watford City, oh, I probably would not go.
Okay, okay. So if we do have the three of us there, then we'll have Wendy probably posted as a meeting, but, okay. Next item, there is some temporary water permits in your packet. You can review. If you have any questions or concerns, certainly let us know. Then there is our dues increase. I'm not sure how much, Dennis, do you know what that increase is?
I forget what our, Wendy, I
Last
don't
year.
remember, it's going to be 500 in 2027, did they say in the letter?
What it was
I believe
last,
it was 300 before.
from 3 to 500?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that doesn't sound quite right, but anyway, and I don't know the number exactly, but the rationale, the reason is that, I don't know if this was shared with you, but the state Department of Water Resources, State Water Commission had previously cost shared significantly with just the operations costs of the water users and water resource districts. They have discontinued that for just maybe legal reasons, just to make sure they're not. I'm not sure all the background, but so with that, the necessitates. Spreading or narrowing up the pie slice.
Yep. When does that payment actually due? Is that, could it be for next year's?
It'll be for 27, yeah.
Okay.
They typically send it out December, somewhere in there,
Okay.
and we consider it in the
Yeah.
early part of the year, so.
Still seems like a reasonable,
Mr. Chairman, we actually paid it in August last year,
Okay.
and it was $325.
325,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, I'm going to bug out. There's a informational meeting on the Garrison Dam spillway improvements up at BSC at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to be a little bit behind getting there, but,
Okay. All right.
so if you need anything else from me, just let me know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, so I guess we'll see that bill in August and September and look to pay that. All right. Any other new business? Okay, moving on to item 12, there is additional information regarding those plats and stormwater management plans you can see there for the Edwidge Village, 7th edition, the Boulder Ridge, 7th edition, Ponderosa Riverside, 8th and 9th, and then the Clot subdivision and Norb subdivision. So, if you want additional information, you can reach out to Wendy to provide that. You can move on to item 13, approval of this month's bills. Manager Reap.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I did go through the bills as they are presented in your packet. Couple items of note. The Bismarck Parks and Rec invoice, if you recall, we had a discussion about a credit back to the Burleigh County Water Resource District based on the percentage they charge for capital outlays where they purchased that tractor, and our percentage share of that was like $5,000. We did split that with them, so we do have that credit in this invoice that we got from Bismarck Parks and Rec, so
Okay.
that we're all square there. I guess that was the main one I was going to bring up. There is 2 invoices that were shared subsequent to the preparation of this of your packet. One is from Braun Intertech, and that is for it is for a Apple Creek landslide work through our contract with them in the amount of $8,615. And then we have the one that was discussed in our public comment period. With the addition, if the board is agreeable, of the Braun Intertech invoice for $8,615, our new total would be $180,493.85. If, based on the discussion, I guess my opinion would be we should table the other invoice.
Yep.
From the, and I'm not going to try that name of that company, I'll mispronounce it, but, and so if, I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we pay the bills in the amount of $180,493.85 and table the one invoice that we received from Josh, thank you. I can't remember his company name. Until, for further discussion.
Okay. All right, got a motion by Manager Reap,
I'll second.
second by Manager Smith to approve this month's bills, including the Braun invoice in the amount of $180,493.85. Any other discussion, questions? Wendy, take roll call vote, please.
Manager Baker,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Manager Reed,
Yes.
Manager Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Landenberger.
Yes, motion passes. Bills will be paid. Okay. Additional information in your packet there on pages 38 through 106 is just some detailed information on the bills. Our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, June 10th at 8 a.m. in this room. Everybody here can make that meeting? Good. Okay. Is there any other business before the board today?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one more thing to add, we did get the tractor put on to insurance.
Oh, okay. Good,
Or-
great.
McDowell Dam, I just thought of it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. No other business before the board? We are adjourned.